Howdy, 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 and welcome to the Snort Cast. My name is Nguyen, and I am the host and creator of the Snort Cast, and I would like to know where you are watching this show from. Where are you snorting from? It's really important that I know where this audience is snorting from. You've been such an amazing community, and if you can tell us if you're watching this hashtag live or hashtag replay, please let us know where you're watching this show from. I would like to acknowledge on the land that I stand on, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and pay my respects to the elders past and present. Sovereignty has never been ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Also, for this month, I am paying it forward to, something my mother taught me was to always pay it forward. And I would like to pay it forward for September to raise money for cerebral palsy. Now, if you are interested in supporting, the link is in the bio link. Please support. I'm trying to do 10,000 steps a day, which I'm failing at, but please support me anyway, to pay it forward so they raise more money and also more equipment for young children. Please remember to tell me where you're watching from. I'm always grateful for the community that do turn up and watch this show, and I am really excited to bring this person on because he's quite inspiring, the path that he's taken. He has his own show. 2018, he had his own show called Orange is the New Brown. He has his own Netflix special called Nazeem Hussain Public Frenemy, and that was filmed in Montreal Just for Laughs Festival. And he also is a celebrity. And I say that because he was on a show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And definitely let's get him out of here. But before we bring him onto the show, the SnortCast, I would like to show you a bit of his work. So, be impressed. This is Nazeem Hussain's showreel. Check it out.
Thank you. Oh, man, so good to be here. My name's Nazeem. I am from Australia. I'm a little bit famous in Australia, just a little bit. I get recognised a bit in Australia, not always as me. I walked into a cafe recently. As soon as I walked in, the waiter, he sees me, comes straight up to me holding a bag, and he says, Uber Eats?
Just because I'm Muslim doesn't mean I support ISIS, you idiot. I mean, some of us like Al-Qaeda.
You can't make pedophilia jokes. Pedophilia jokes are like the cardinal sin of comedy, aren't they? So... Sorry, you can't take a photo because you're Asian and you're perpetuating a stereotype? What's my name?
Will I Am.
Will I Am. Sing it loud. What's my name?
Will I Am.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to swim anything deeper than the ankle level.
What's that?
Because I can't swim any deeper than ankle level.
Now I will demonstrate the ultimate psychic ability, the ability to heal Efron and make him walk again.
Oh my God, this is... Oh my God.
Bill has sent me out to the desert to try and find water in a place where it's really scarce. I don't know why we couldn't just do this in front of a green screen.
We sent Nazeem Hussain to see what a world without humans might look like.
So what about humans? Do you think we'll go extinct as well?
Are people going to go extinct?
Yeah, are people going to go extinct?
Probably not. Now, that doesn't mean humans might not go extinct.
It's not always about money and body.
It's about who you know and be friends with the rich kids.
I'm a Muslim comedian, and I know what you're thinking.
Welcome to the show, Nazeem.
Thanks for having me. Oh my gosh, that's a showreel that would make my mum proud.
Well, my showreel's full of prostitute roles, so that's a real proud.
That make your mum proud. I don't know.
That's it. Thanks for joining us, and you're busy, you're working, but who are you? Because our LinkedIn community don't know who you are. Who are you?
Well, my name is Nazeem Hussain. Muhammad is my middle name, Nazeem Muhammad Hussain. Born and raised in Melbourne, Australia. Sri Lankan background, Muslim, a middle child, older and younger sisters, single mum, state schools my whole life, studied law and science, worked in an office for a few years, then became a comedian, lied to my mum about that for several months, left the house in a suit every morning, get changed into casual clothes, come hang out, you then hang out with. Anyway, long story short, I've been doing comedy since then. And, I do stand-up and just wherever there's something funny to do, I'll do it. If it's funny, I'll do it. That's kind of my career rule. I'll do it.
Let's talk about faking it and, like, putting on a suit before you left off home. Who were you trying to please at that moment?
No, I wasn't trying to present my mum, because I used to work at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I just didn't want her to. I couldn't break it to her. I didn't have the guts to say I'm a comedian, or that I didn't even make a decision. I just thought I was going to make this television show, Legally Brown, which is the show that you just played some clips of, and that's all. I'm going to probably come back to the office, but I didn't think she'd catch me in that time when I was filming it. But she went to my office to drop off lunch one day, like 3 months in, and the receptionist said, Nazeem hasn't been here for months. And my mum was like, where have you been? I said, I'm just, and it was like I was telling how I was gay would have been an easier thing for her to stomach than for me saying I was. But now she's like, since then she's been very supportive. Comes to most of my shows at the comedy festival. I think you probably met my mum outside the Melbourne Town Hall.
Yep.
You perform at the comedy festival as well. And
yes.
She's there.
Right. And I've met your sister because we've done some AFL work together. Who did she go for? What's her football team?
Just Richmond.
Okay, that's all right.
Good
time.
I don't know if anyone else around the world cares about AFL, but it's like rugby, and I don't know what it is. It's like you've got odd-shaped ball. It's like a rugby ball, but you bounce it and you kick through these goals with no. Anyway, it's a game. It's our game. The religion of Australia.
That's it. And we want to acknowledge people who are tuning into the show. We've got Sydney. We've got Bangladesh.
Wow.
We've got Tanzania. We've got India. We've got South Africa. What else we got here? We got Texas. You're awake, Texas. Welcome to the show. And Tennessee.
Americans never say that they're from the United States. They just say the state, as if just assuming we all know that that's in America. And they're correct. We all do assume. We just know. See, Cincinnati, Texas.
There you go. Brian's a massive snorter because he's called it pork. How do you say that?
Porkopolis.
I have on the show today Nazeem Hussain, and I want to ask you, because you've got this rich history of getting to where you are. When did comedy begin for you as a child? Like, do you remember when you knew comedy was like, yes?
Well, I remember actually. So one of my earliest memories in life was when I was maybe 3. I used to sit on the front steps of the house, out the front of the house, and my family would be inside watching me from the window. And whenever someone would walk past, I'd say, "G'day, mate. How's it going?" And then they would just see this like Indian-looking kid and be like, "Oh, hi." And then I'd be like, "Where are you going?" And I was just talking this really over-the-top Australian accent. And my family started pissing themselves or laughing. And eventually, whoever was walking past just found me hilarious and would laugh and have this weird conversation with me. "Oh, yeah, what do you do for work? How much money do you have? How much money you got in your pocket? Can I have a lolly?" Like, it was very weird. And so I think I just enjoyed that from a young age. My schooling life, like all my report cards said Nazeem is easily distracted and distracts others, but teachers could never tell me off because they would tell me off and I would agree with them and then tell the rest of the class to learn from my mistakes. And I was always just an idiot. I was just always finding the rules, bending them, making fun of them, making fun of the rules by supporting them. Anyway.
Yeah, that's why I loved one of your earlier clips. I don't know which TV show it was, but it was when you're at the beach in Bondi and you start giving out fines to people. What's that?
It was from a show called Balls of Steel, which is this sort of like prank. It's a very juvenile show. It's from the UK, and then there was an Australian version on Fox on cable television. And I played I played a very foreign correspondent who was this guy who was trying to get to know Australian culture by going undercover in different roles. So for that episode, I was a lifeguard. So we actually got like the official lifeguard uniform, and I was just going up to people, just telling them not to swim in shallow water, that they can't build structures on the beach like sandcastles. And I thought it'd be funny to tell white-looking tourists that they or just white people swimming that they've got to come show me their papers because it's swum in from another country. Anyway, so when they didn't have papers, I just told them to swim back to where they came from. One French woman literally just turned around and started swimming out to sea, and we had to call her back and say, "Hey, it's a joke. Come back, come back." They then radioed all the lifeguards on the coast of New South Wales saying there is a guy who's pretending to be a lifeguard. So we got kicked off that beach at Bondi. We went to some other beach. We thought, we'll try filming here. And then we got kicked away. And I said, "Why are you kicking me off?" They said, "Because you're not a lifeguard." I said, "How do you know it was me that's the fake lifeguard?" And they said, "Because there's no other brown lifeguards." And they were correct. It's just me. So that was easy to identify me.
There was diversity on that beach that day. So
I know. Swimming's not big in Sri Lanka. Like, you never see swimmers from Sri Lanka in the Olympics. Like, so we're not good.
Vietnam too. We either come here by boat or we don't swim at all.
Exactly. Or by plane, but we can't swim.
No. Can I ask, like, who inspires your comedy? Who gets you up on stage and goes, work it, make it?
Oh, as in say your question again.
Who inspires your comedy? Who gets you up on stage to make jokes and to be better every day?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, my sister, who you met, she's like probably my most honest and critic and supporter. So I'll sometimes run jokes past her and I'll be like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And she'll be like, that's crap. Don't say that. No one's going to laugh. And then I might say it and no one will laugh. And she'll be like, "I told you, why didn't you just listen to me?" And then, but if something's really funny, she's just dead. She's actually the funny one in the family. She'll be like, that was really funny. See, I told you that was a funny joke. You should do more of those ones. Like, she's very good at comedy. But yeah, in terms of like who are my comedy idols, you're one. You're bloody paving the way in Australia. There's not many people can do what you do. Seriously, people in Australia don't understand how challenging the scene is to break through and in. Like, so you're doing well.
Thanks. Thanks for sucking up, but not needed.
I'm already on the show.
Let's talk about your sister, because she's also a lawyer, isn't she?
She's a lawyer. She works at Morris Blackburn, which is like a good firm. She's now a partner there. And actually, when she first started out in law, she applied for a job somewhere. She wears a hijab. She's a Muslim woman. And some guy, a partner at a firm that was interviewing her, said, he basically said to her face, "We can't really hire you because there would be a perception amongst clients that you are biased because of your hijab." So basically discriminated against her, broke some laws there. And so my sister then applied for a job at Morris Blackburn, got through, has succeeded, done really well, and is a partner there. And now that old partner from that other firm has met up with my sister and sort of said, "Look, I probably made a mistake there. I can't believe I used to think that way." But she's a very honest, nice person and forgiving, whereas I probably would hold a grudge forever, but she's just cool with the guy.
Yeah, I actually met her before I met you at an AFL breakfast, and no joke, we were cracking ourselves laughing. We had the best table. And I was just thinking, because you're both lawyers, is there something about lawyers and comedy where you're able to dissect it more? Like,
maybe. Or maybe it's just like lawyers are arrogant and love the sound of their own voice. Or I don't know what it is. I think it's just, maybe there's something to do with language, playing with words. But I think it's just that law's so boring. That's why you see a lot of comedians come from law, It's but I don't know. I think it's just like, if you like law, you probably like presenting an argument from a surprising angle or whatever. And that's what comedians do. We're just always trying to say things that people probably think about, but from different angles, There's so many freaking people here.
Yeah. So I just want to ask the audience who are watching, tell us your favorite comedy TV show. We've just listed Nazeem, so you could check it out on Netflix. It's on Netflix. How was it to do a Netflix special?
Oh my God, it was just nerve-wracking. Like, even when it was exciting. We did 2 shows back to back, so there's 3 of us that we were doing the specials on the same night, and so there was an audience, and then you perform to that audience, and then the next comedian performs, and the next comedian, and then they kick that audience out, get a new audience in. And I just remember the first show that I did, I was had a bit of dry mouth, and I think the longer you do comedy, like, you just get better at faking the face that you're comfortable, but you put on the face where it looks like you're comfortable. But but I wasn't. And then the second show, I was just like, you know what? Just have fun. It's just a gig. And then the second show, I had heaps of fun, and it was fun. Yeah, it was just it's weird because to do a Netflix special, to be on Netflix means that there's possibly a lot more people watching. It's but very exciting. Like I don't really know what to say. I was pretty blessed to have, privileged to have gotten that opportunity.
And like, how long into stand up have you been doing before you got this Netflix special?
I don't even know when I officially started stand up, but I did the Fringe Festival in 2007.
Oh wow!
But I think I did Raw Comedy 2006. So maybe, but I was sort of I've always been like doing stuff on stage and like, you know, within the Muslim community, sort of like emceeing gigs, and so I kind of had like stage time in a way since maybe 2004-5. But yeah, then 2008 was I did my first Melbourne Comedy Festival tour. I did, you know, Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, and I think maybe Brisbane. So yeah, probably 2008 was when I really started giving it a red hot go. But I was still working at the office till 2012, and then I've only been doing comedy full time since 2012. End of 2012.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been fun. But I still feel very junior. You know, like that's the thing. Because Australia is a small place. I think it's kind of easy to have a profile. So it's easier to have a profile, but your experience doesn't necessarily it doesn't necessarily align with how long it doesn't mean that you're as experienced as you are famous, if you know what I mean. People just know you, but then they think, oh, you're really experienced at comedy. Not really. There's just not that many people here.
Yeah, well, comedy is so small that you actually get confused with the host of the project. So that's
I know.
how small.
Oh my God, that happens all the time. Today we actually had lunch together because we're allowed to now. But it's always funny when people see us together. It's like magic eye. They're like, what the? So yeah, no. We have a nightly news show, which is actually quite popular. And one of the most recent hosts, he's a guy called Waleed Ali, one of my best mates, and he's an academic and a lawyer and a very bright mind. He just basically has changed Australian television in a way and won the Gold Logie, which is the award for the most popular person on Australian television. So that took everybody by surprise, especially him. But yeah, when they announced his role, I don't understand how people's brains work because they use my photo in the newspaper for his name, but it happens all the time. People talk to me on the street about his work, and sometimes they're just nice old ladies. So I just go along with it. I don't want to disappoint them because they're meeting Waleed. So I'm like, they ask me how I write my articles. I'm like, you just got to write from the heart, which is something he would never say. I'm just working his reputation out in the public. So, it's for me, it's a compliment being called Waleed, being called like a super smart guy, lawyer, engineer. He was a judge's associate, academic. He's a lecturer at a university. But for him, being called Nazeem is like an insult. Oh, I'm not a freaking clown. Like I would not be happy if I was him.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it so much. We're just gonna say hi to our community in Brisbane. We're watching from Brisbane in the lounge room. Tanzania is a hot spot today, and shows that people have been watching. They love comedy. Saturday Night Live.
I love that.
Anthony Hall just said, first comic memory was pull my finger.
It's so funny how universal that is. Like I reckon across the world in different languages, probably since the start of mankind, like I reckon people have been pulling each other's fingers.
Ahmed said Fresh Prince.
Oh my! That was actually I grew up watching that. And can you imagine that Will Smith has just always been as fun and exciting and fresh and he's one of my favorites. Like he's there's not many like him.
Peter Hellier was on the show a couple of weeks ago and he said sometimes to have ideas is better than jokes. And I reckon with Will Smith, he's that. He's always inventing himself. You're similar too. Dave
Chappelle said something like, it's more important to be interesting than funny. I think, so I often think about that because I'm like, sometimes it's, you're like, I've got something I want to say, but then you're like, oh, it's easier to say the funnier thing. but obviously it's harder to make an interesting thing that's not funny. But if you can, I think that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, that makes you a stand-up comedian, a successful one. Like Netflix special.
Oh God. I just know how to
Brian said favorite first comedy special in movie theater.
Eddie Murphy. Raw and Delirious, like again, I grew up loving them, but if you watch them now, you know, and knowing what you know in life, the comedy, I guess, over the years is always just cultural change.
Let's talk about your TV show, Orange is the New Brown.
Yeah.
This is your baby.
My baby, yeah. Well, I mean, the show that I left my work for was Legally Brown, which was my baby, but that was on SBS, and SBS is like of the five free-to-air television networks, SBS is the smallest, and it's it's like a niche network. And there we got to do pretty much anything and everything. They just let us run wild. But and it was fun. And again, like, you know, it's a smaller audience. But when we did Orange is the New Brown, that was on Channel 7, which is one of the two higher rating networks. And it was we were on straight after Home and Away, which is like a very, very, very Australian show. So the audience that we, it's like all white. There's never been I don't even know, maybe there has been. I've never seen a non-white person on that show. If they are, they're lost. They've just wandered onto the set. But like, actually, remember Neighbours? Neighbours is a show that is also famous, probably more in the UK. But we all grew up watching it. And they hadn't had a non-white person on for 26 years until audiences in the UK complained. And then they introduced like this Indian family. Then they kicked him out after like a season. But I can't you just think about it, if there's a suburb in Australia that has only ever had white people in it, then suddenly an Indian family comes in, as if they're not going to kick the shit out of them, because like that is a white sub. Like I just thought, this doesn't make sense. This seems like some other riots, and then they just harmoniously. Anyway, what am I talking about? Yeah, show Orange is the New Brown. So we basically so doing that show, doing Orange is the New Brown was far more challenging, I believe, than doing Legally Brown, because Legally Brown, you're sort of playing to a home crowd. You know, people are choosing to watch this smaller channel with, you know, quirkier content. Whereas Channel 7, you're like intruding people's lounge rooms. You know, it's like, hey, you've just watched Home and Away. Now watch this ethnic political comedy show that you probably are going to disagree with. So you have to like really figure out how to like make the ideas accessible to this broader audience, which was challenging, but it was great. I think we delivered. People liked it, with lots of complaints as well. But you know, you can't do comedy that makes everybody happy. I think that's the thing. You can't.
No. Well, that's the beauty of comedy, and that's why we do stand up, isn't it? Just to test the space.
Yeah, I think so. And like you can, you know, and also you do stand up because I think sometimes you just don't get that sort of space anywhere else. You don't get to say these things anywhere else, and people come because they sort of want to. Comedy's always on the edge of what's normal and acceptable. You know, or ideas that are, that you can normally kind of communicate, you know, so you can get away with things that you can't get away with in a newspaper article or just, you know, in a normal chat show. So, yeah, I think it's supposed to be a little bit prickly. It's supposed to like make people go, oh, what the hell? You can't say that. Or yes, he said it, even though I can't say it. Or, you know, so it's fun. I actually genuinely like that reaction from the audience. If the workers, you know, if they're like, if they are kind of excited about the comedy going to a place that maybe is questionable, or I don't know, you know, making fun of white people is fun, basically. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and Brian said the edge is where we learn.
Edge is where we learn.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So Brian's dropping some.
Brian's got some friggin' truth bombs. Where's Brian from? Where's Brian from? Let's talk about diversity in comedy. Ooh, okay.
Brian's from Cincinnati. He's from the Pork Cop Pullers.
Oh, okay, yeah, pork. Do you eat a lot of pork? Is that what goes on here?
No, I just know. Maybe he does. It's good.
Who's from Texas again? I'll be watching Chef's Table. The first episode has made me want to go to Texas. They have all these like amazing barbecues. Oh my god! A woman called Tootsie. She's a pit master. I want to meet her. Anyway.
2021. 2021.
2021. In a million years, I don't know if we're ever going to travel again.
We were talking about Home and Away, and you talking about how wide it was and how you had to transition an audience to click from 7:30 to your show. How has diversity changed for you since 2007 when you started doing comedy? Has it changed? Does it need more changing?
In terms of the numbers of people on there, like you tell me, I reckon we could probably still name the same people that were, there's just a handful of people that are not white on television. And it's pretty weird. I don't think it's going to be acceptable in any other country. You go to the UK, US, New Zealand, Canada. It's just a bit more normal to have diversity on screen. But Australia is just a little bit behind. But now at least, and I think, we're starting to see people at least talking the language of progressive politics. Whereas back when I first started, I feel like to talk about race was a little bit like, whoa, that's dangerous, or well, that's a bit controversial, just talking about racism. Whereas now it's like almost in vogue to call people out, to to use the correct language, and so that's, especially Black Lives Matter, I think it's helped with a lot of that. But I wonder, and I hope that this sort of sticks around a little bit longer. It's not just this veneer that people put on.
You've performed all around the world, like Edinburgh. You've sold out in Edinburgh. You've performed in Montreal. Do you find that our comedy in Australia is at the forefront, or we're a bit behind with our comedy?
I think our comedy is pretty good. Like we've got a really interesting style, because Americans, I find, are like, as everyone knows what Americans are like culturally, and I think Brits have a very, very, they're quite understated and quirky, and whereas Australians, I feel like sit somewhere in the middle of these two these comedy cultures. New Zealand's quite interesting. New Zealand comedy's taken off in a big way, I reckon, in the last decade, and I think Australia, Australians have a very kind of special place in stand-up, because it's a very different way of telling stories, and our kind of self-deprecation is unlike any other. Australian comedians are world-class. Like, I always get excited seeing Australians perform overseas, because just sort of seeing the audiences react and respond to someone that they might never seen before, but just in a way that's like, oh my God, this is exciting and new. It's pretty cool. Like, I think every time I see Australians perform on a lineup with other Americans and Brits, they always tend to smash it. So, it's pretty cool. It's great.
Yeah. And to talk about English comedy, UK comedy to American comedy, you starred on another lineup called "I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here." How was that lineup? How was that? You did a reality show.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was times are tough, Diana, but it was fun. It was, again, that was probably my first thing, first mainstream thing. It was before Orange is the New Brown, but it was like they chuck a bunch of celebrities into a jungle in South Africa, and they don't give you much. I thought it was going to be like a set. I thought that they really feed you well off camera, but they didn't. We were starving. I lost 10 kilos on there, and I was in there for 46 days. No contact with the outside world. I didn't even know if anyone was even watching the show, because you're just like, no one tells you shit. Sorry. And I remember I got out of the jungle. I got on a train in Melbourne, and that was the first time I realized people watch this show, because some guy gets up, stands across, and he yells across the carriage, packed carriage. He goes, "Hey, you're from the jungle!" And the guy next to me had no idea what he was talking about. He's like, "Whoa, that's pretty racist." I was like, "Yeah," I didn't know what. But no, it was really fun. Like, the thing is, it's weird, like, there's cameras everywhere, and so for the first week, you're very conscious of it. You think about what you're saying, you talk like you're in an interview all the time. But then after a week, I was in there for 6 weeks. After a week, it's not that you forget that the camera's there. You just don't have the energy to pretend anymore. So you just let your guard down. Everyone just starts being themselves, and it's kind of fun. That's when it becomes really fun, when you just can just be yourself and talk crap, and
And I haven't stalked you on Instagram, but you've made a really good network of friends out of that show, haven't you?
Yeah, well, it's a bit like it's bizarre. Like you live with I've never spent that amount of time with anybody. Like even with your own family, you leave them for a half a day or something. We were just like there together in this tiny space. It's intense. You can't not become like family with them. So even though you disagree and you have you come from different walks of life, by the end of it, you're just like, well, we're family now. No one else understands what we've just been through. I guess it's like going through a traumatic event together. If you've ever been to war or something, it felt weird. It was quite weird, very bizarre.
Well, welcome back to Earth and Land and Reality. Because we are in a pandemic at the moment, and this is why the SnortCast has been so fun, because a lot of my comedian friends are out of live work, and this is a great way to talk about our work. How have you dealt with the pandemic? How have you brought light into your life, and have you learned any new skills?
No, I'm really bad. Actually, I bought this last year. I thought if I buy a nice piano, which is quite nice, I'll actually learn to play it because I spent money on it. And so I started learning, but then, life was normal last year. So I just got busy doing other things. Then when comedy and the world got cancelled, I was like, all right, I'll start learning again. So I started learning the scales at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got a knock at the door during the first lockdown in Melbourne. And I got a camera at the front so I can see it on my phone. So I answered. I was like, hello. And it was my neighbor. And she was like, hi, Nazeem. Really great that you're learning piano, mate. Just not at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then she stormed off. But so that's when I bought an electric keyboard so that I can practice on there. And then I feel like every time I sit here, I'm performing to the neighbors. So so it's that. I've been trying to learn that. Not really anything else. A bit of Arabic. I haven't learned anything. People are going to come out of lockdown maestros of a craft, but I got nothing. I got jack shiz. Actually, I bought a skin morning routine thing, a morning routine skincare thing. So first step is the wash. It washes off the grease or something. Second one is a toner. I don't know what it does, but you dab it on with the thing. And the third step is this fancy moisturizer. It costs me a lot of money, so I'm just hoping it does. I don't know what you think.
Looks great, shiny.
But you don't know what the before looked like.
You're probably using more makeup and more moisturizer than I am. I just on my Asian skin.
As you saw, I do have a ring light. Hey,
me too.
I'm an influencer now.
Love it. Before we jump to the questions to our audience, a lot of our audience are from LinkedIn. There are a lot of people who want to be funny.
Here.
What?
Anna.
Is it?
Yeah, she's anyway. Hi.
Anna's in the room.
That's the SnortCast.
Yes.
Because you just snort. Okay. Do people stop you on the street and go, hey, snort, do your signature snort?
Oh dear. Okay.
I love it.
All right. So our audience is from LinkedIn and Facebook and is watching us right now. What would be your tip to someone who wants to put comedy in their presentation or in their performance? Because you've been doing this for a really long time, even as a lawyer. Did you find when you were doing law in the office that you were funny?
I always cover my incompetence with comedy. I cover my flaws in life with just stupidity, and so it's just a natural bullying, everything. I deal with everything with comedy. Even when I'm frustrated, some people even when I was in the jungle, people everyone would be losing their minds, and when I'd lose my mind, I think I just become sarcastic, and other people think I'm trying to be funny, but it's actually how I get angry. But anyway. How do you add comedy to your speeches or life? I don't know. I just personally think comedy is often just you being honest and being comfortable being honest. And that's if you're doing a speech and if you feel nervous, just say, I'm feeling pretty nervous. I really hope this isn't bad. Or, just be honest about what you're feeling, because they see that. And that's kind of the basis of comedy. If you've got a story, tell the story like you would your friend. If you're telling your friend a story, that's how you tell the story. Say that on stage. It's just have. That's kind of, I think, I don't know if it's my philosophy, but I think that's just an easy way to think about being funny. But if you're not funny, I don't think you can teach it. So if you're not funny and you're trying to be funny, just don't. All right.
Just give.
Just leave it to the us. Just write it. Just sit back. Be an audience member. In fact, most of you should just be audience, and only some of you should be doing the comedy.
That's it. And just give us the money to watch our. Here's our first question for the night. Hey, Nazeem, I was wondering, how did your parents take it when you started in comedy? Were they accepting or flipping it out?
You missed the start here in Blackmore. But basically, no, look, my mum she always used to come to me doing comedy stuff in community events, and she liked that. But yeah, when I left to do it full time, it was challenging for her to compute. I never really said I never said I'm doing comedy now. I just said, oh, I'm just doing this thing now. This is what I'm doing right now. I didn't say this is my life plan until one day when they were filming this. There's a show called Home Delivery, hosted by Julia Zamiro, where she follows comedians back to where they grew up. She goes to their home, their schools, and so on. So she came to my home, and my mum was there. Actually, my mum wasn't supposed to be in the scene, and then my mum just walked into the scene. Anyway, she was just like cleaning up the kitchen. Oh, hi. Anyway, so Julia Zamiro comes up to her and goes, "Hi, Mrs. Hussain. You must be so proud of your son. How does it feel knowing that your son has studied law and science and he's now not working in an office, but he's going to be doing comedy for the rest of his life? How do you feel?" And I could see that was the first time someone had put it to my mum that way, that like, oh, this is my choice. I'm never going to do the office job with the tie again. And she just like with a glaze over her face said, "It is good." And, I've heard her try to explain to her family in Sri Lanka what I do. And I can hear them not really getting it, because to them, my mum left Sri Lanka for a better life for her and her kids. She put up with all sorts of racism in Australia, worked hard, several jobs, single mum, and then after all that, I've become a professional clown. Like, it doesn't make sense to them. They're like, "What does he do? Just walk around telling people jokes?" Sort of, yeah. So weird. I feel for my mum. She's put up with a lot.
I totally hear your story. It's like, I'm from a same kind of little, story as well. Like, my mum had all these ambitions for her daughter because she, came here with nothing and got us through school, put uniforms on our backs, and bought all our new books so that we would have the books on the walls forever. And I became, and I love how you say, a professional clown.
You get paid for people to laugh at us. Like, we tell strangers things about ourselves, and then they leave and we never see them again. And we tell the same stories the next night. It's very weird. What a weird life.
Serena's last, let's make it normal. Can we get Nazeem and Fee and Me? Fee and Me is my web series.
Wait, I don't understand both of these sentences. Let's make it normal. Yes. I don't get that. What does that mean?
I think she's referring to about diversity.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Okay, I get that.
And also, funny story, my last week, my mum posted on Facebook, my mum featured on my web series as well. She was an extra.
What?
So then she screenshot herself and put it onto Facebook and said, look at me.
Oh my God. She should get an IMDb page. Like, send her profile around to casting agents and directors. Bloody hell.
No, one act is enough in one family. One act.
I agree.
Brian's asked, tell me about Americans. How are we? Ooh.
I mean, this is interesting. Americans often talk about themselves, and when they're not talking about themselves, they're asking other people to talk about them. That's what I mean. His question here just answers everything. Tell us about us. It's not about you, Brian. All right? This is the internet.
Chill out. Thank you for your support, Brian. Love you. Ian asked another question about diversity. Do you think if there were more diversity in the writers' room, that there would be more diversity in television? And what do you think the block is?
Well, I think definitely, I think diversity in the writers' room, on set, just diversity across production and casting. It should just be diversity, just like there should be diversity in all industries. I think, there's something particularly special about entertainment because culture is important. It sort of tells us who we are. It's reflecting back to us who we are. So, yeah, I think there should definitely be diversity in casting. But then, yeah, what's the point of having some like Asian woman read a script written by a bunch of white people trying to be, trying to get into the head of an Asian woman? Like, it sort of doesn't. Imagine if all of us, you and me, wrote scripts just for white people. And we're just, as a show about white people being white. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think it's just, you just gotta color everything up.
Well, see, this is the thing. I would love to write for white people because it means I'll get paid to be the writer.
That's true. Actually, you know what? We would know how to write for white people because we actually know everything about white culture and our own cultures, whereas it doesn't go both ways. We've studied whiteness our whole lives, right? We studied it probably more. We're more aware of whiteness than white people are. They just hang out doing their thing. They don't see what they do as white things. They just think of it as life. Whereas,
Yeah, someone asked me, could you write other than Asian stuff? And I was like, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. We watch all of you, and all we get thrown in our faces is white stuff. We grew up watching Home and Away, Neighbours, The OC. It just the news, everything. Like, God, we are so talented, and would probably charge the same rate as everybody else. You get bang for buck hiring an ethnic.
That's it. Oh, what a put that recommendation on my LinkedIn, please. Before we end our show, what is your next journey? What's happening in your life?
I mean, to be honest, I'm writing things because you can't really film anything or do anything else really. But I'm just, waiting for. I just missed the stage. Missed doing stand up. I was 1 week into a national tour. And then we had to, refund all the tickets and just then fill in a big gap in my year. But I don't know. Like, honestly, I'm just kind of now taking everything. I'm feeling grateful for everything. Especially as Victoria, the state that we're in, slowly opens up and eases restrictions very slowly. With each easing of restriction, I am grateful for that. Like, even being able to meet one person now for a recreational reason at a park. I was so excited about that. Like, I hung out, as I told you, with Wally today, and I was like, I was like on a high for half the day because I was like, oh my God, we just got to hang out at a park. We didn't have to pretend we were exercising and just eat and just, it's like I've never been that grateful for that sort of tiny, the playgrounds are open. It's just so, I'm just trying to appreciate life again.
Yeah. I have to say I was at Edinburgh Gardens and I just felt there was a shift in people. The sun was out. People were
beautiful,
close together, having a picnic. There was a really nice vibe, and we've gotten this far together. We'll get there to the end.
Yeah, and I think also like talking about like once you start to experience the easing of restrictions, I think we start to. I just remember before lockdown, everyone was calling for lockdown to happen. People were like, just shut us down. And as soon as it gets shut down, I think it just, you start to viscerally experience how challenging that is. And so, but yeah, if you look around the world, I think it's, we're quite fortunate that at least we are prioritizing health. I think that's a blessing. So,
thank you. It's such a blessing to have you on my show tonight.
Yeah, I'm never going to leave.
Well, it can go for 4 hours.
Yeah, no.
This is how long a live can go for 4 hours, and I've sung karaoke for 4 hours. Yeah.
Oh my God, really? Wow.
Yeah, I raised $4,000 in 4 hours for my web series.
Bloody hell! Good on you. Okay, I need to hire you. A fundraising manager.
Yeah, I won't hire you for piano, but I'll hire you for something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've been playing piano since you were 3. Oh my God.
You're telling people the secret. That's one of my secrets.
Oh, that's one of your other hidden talents.
That's it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
And you are always creating. You've reinvented yourself. So keep going.
And you keep going. And thank you for having me on. And big fan. And I'll can't wait to see you in the real world.
Thank you. No, in the real world.
All the comments, and thanks for watching and putting up with all this.
Great. And thank you for everyone for joining the show. Before we leave, just going to show you some work. And Nazeem, you can stay with us after this video. Thanks for joining, guys, and we'll see you all soon.
ticket.